Hi friends, this is Kathryn Korostoff from Research Rockstar, so thank you for joining me today for another conversation about market research and customer insights. And today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I normally don't talk about current events, but something kind of big happened in our industry recently, so I feel like I should address it and share some thoughts and maybe some ways that you might anticipate whether or not this news is going to be important for you personally in your work and your career. So about a week ago, two of the big panel companies joined up. They merged. They announced they're merging, SSI and Research Now. And these companies have both been around for a really long time, and these are companies that are primarily known as panel companies. And for those of you who might be new to market research and customer insights, panel companies are companies that basically create and maintain large databases of potential research participants. So people who have agreed to, for example, take online surveys or participate in other types of research events. And they have millions of people in their databases, and they collect a lot of profiling. So for example, if I need to do a survey of people who own minivans in the northeast part of the United States, I would go to one of these companies and I'd say I need minivan owners in the northeast part of the United States. I'm doing a survey. The survey is going to take on average 8 minutes to complete, and I'm looking for a sample size of 2,000 participants. And these panel companies and other panel companies then give you a quote, and they say, okay, we can do that for X dollars per complete or a total price of Y. And so panel companies are really important to those of us who do survey research, because unless you're doing survey research exclusively with your own customer base, that is using your own customer database, if you're doing any kind of survey research with potential customers or maybe future customers, or maybe you just want to understand your brand awareness, you're going to have to go to a other source to collect potential survey participants. And panel companies, well, that's what they do. But again, SSI and Research Now are two of the big panel companies. There are obviously others, so I don't want to endorse anybody specifically. But in addition to SSI and Research Now, I often think of Toluna, Lightspeed, EMI. So there are a lot of different panel companies out there. But I want to take a minute to talk a little bit about my impressions of these companies and how I think that having them come together could potentially have implications that are going to be important to those of us who are in this profession. So first of all, I could give you a ton of points about their panel, but I'm not going to. You can get that from their website. Here's my things. When I think of SSI, I think of them as not only being a panel company, because we all know that, but I also think of them as a company who puts a lot of effort into research on research. This is a company that has some really super smart people who are always working on advancing the quality of market research, as well as, frankly, the profession in general. I think that through some of their work, they kind of create a positive halo effect on the profession of market research. One of my favorite people at SSI is their senior methodologist, Keith Phillips. And Keith is not one to brag about himself, so I will brag for him. He is definitely somebody whose articles you should seek out. Keith has done some really cool research on research, again, thanks to his employer, SSI. For example, one of the studies that Keith published a couple of years ago, we actually cite in one of our Research Rockstar courses, which is he did a study to find out what kinds of visual displays business executives like best. And that's really important because when we're delivering market research results, well, we want people to use them. And part of making it easy for people to use our research is putting it in visual forms that are easy to digest and also, frankly, that are attractive. And so he tested, for example, would business executives rather see data presented in the form of charts, tables, or infographics? And he shared those results. So that's a great example of a real research on research type of project that benefits all of us. Nicole Mitchell is a knowledge specialist at SSI, and she's also one to watch. You should definitely follow her on Twitter, and you should seek out her articles because she also does a lot of work to advance the quality of survey research. And of course, Jackie Lorch, who's their Vice President of Global Knowledge Management, is another really well-known thought leader in the overall market research and customer insight space. Jackie speaks at a lot of conferences, and you should definitely seek out her articles as well. Now, obviously, there are a lot of other people at SSI, but when I think of SSI, those are three of the people who always come to mind for me because I really appreciate their articles and their thinking in terms of advancing how we can do research better and better all the time. Also, the company does have an awesome blog. I definitely recommend checking it out. Again, it's about research. So sure, they do some promotional things too. It is a blog, right, that's owned by a company, but there is a lot of valuable content on their blog. So I read their blog. They also promote survey research excellence. They have something called the Quest Award. I believe it's given out every year at the SOMAR annual conference. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's where they give it out. But again, that is about recognizing great survey research. So people who do survey research can apply for the award and then get this wonderful publicity and recognition for their excellence in survey research. And that's something that's so important to us these days. We want excellent surveys out there. And by the way, why is Kathryn so concerned about survey excellence in general? It's really important that surveys are done well because people who experience bad questionnaires as participants and people who see bad survey research as research clients, it casts a negative halo over our profession and our work overall. So it's in everybody's best interest that every participant who takes a survey has a good experience and that every client who receives a research report based on survey data, that they are seeing data that is credible and believable. Right? So data they can trust for real decision making. So I love anything, awards, training, anything that helps to advance the quality of our work because it helps all of us. And of course, SSI is a global company. They've got, I think their website said they had 40 offices in 20 countries. So again, huge panel company, but the thing that I love about them is that they really do put a lot of money and effort into having super smart people doing research on research and sharing those best practices. So I really appreciate that about them. And interestingly enough, they are merging now with Research Now, which is another company I think of as being really innovative. Again, I'm going to put aside the panel stuff. We know that they're a huge panel company, right? But what's interesting is a little bit of the genesis. So in 2010, a company called eRewards bought this really innovative company called Peanut Labs, and they renamed the new entity Research Now. So if you've heard of some of these different names, that's a little bit of the history there. The thing I loved about Peanut Labs is they did something that was really cool. You know, one of the things we have trouble with in research is that there are certain populations that are really hard to get to take surveys. There's some populations that are easier than others. And one of the hard populations to get to take surveys is actually young adults, especially young men, say like 18 to 25. And Peanut Labs, one of their innovations that I thought was really cool was that they partnered in their early years with companies that do gaming and basically using surveys as a paywall for gamers to earn benefits. So, for example, if you're playing one of these online social games where you might have weapons or maps or that sort of thing, well, people actually pay money. They pay real money to buy these things. So you can either earn your weapons or maps in some of these games through your playing, through your scores, or you can actually choose to pay real money to buy these things. Just amazing to me. But it's a huge business. And so Peanut Labs was one of these, really innovative early company that said, hey, why don't we have these people who are playing games answer survey questions so they can earn their maps and weapons that way. And that way they were able to get this hard to find population. So I love that as an awesome example of sort of fishing where the fish are in order to reach hard to find populations that are also desirable populations. So anyway, Peanut Labs was a really super cool company that became part of the whole Research Now organization. And another cool thing is that they are definitely a company that has embraced technology. They've put a lot of effort into technology. A great example of that is they have a platform called Samplify that I'm a big fan of. They call it a do-it-yourself survey tool. Personally, I object to the phrase do-it-yourself because I always feel like that says, oh, this is going to be a survey by an amateur. But I know it's a common phrase. I think that this is actually a pretty cool tool, and for frankly a lot of survey research has all the bells and whistles a lot of researchers actually would need. And like other, it not only is it a nice questionnaire design tool and hosting platform, but they also do build in the sampling access and the reporting. And this isn't unique to Research Now, of course. There are, this is definitely the trend, right? So rather than have one company you get your sample from and another software piece that you use to create and host your questionnaire and another piece of software that you use for reporting, there's more and more integration here, right? These things are all coming together for more of a one-stop shopping, and Samplify is the tool that they have in that regard, which is great, right? We want to make research easier, and there's no reason for these three things to be completely separate anymore. We can have integration. And that's always a good thing for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is ensuring data quality. They also have another innovative sort of concept here. They call it Smart AR, and this is where they kind of speak to the whole drive towards research automation and dashboarding. And those of you who know me from Research Rockstar courses know I'm a huge fan of dashboarding and dashboarding tools for data visualization. We actually even teach a course here at Research Rockstar on data visualization and dashboard design. So they have really cool platforms. They're really an innovative company. They really do promote research excellence. They have something called the mobile survey scoring tool, where you can actually have them score your survey to see how mobile ready is it, right? Because a lot of us who are doing survey research, many of our survey participants these days are taking our surveys on mobile devices, on little handheld devices, right? And so it's really important to make sure that the questionnaire that we're putting on out there, and that's maybe getting taken by a lot of people on mobile devices, is really going to be easy to use. It's going to have good data quality. And some of the things we have to be concerned about, for example, is we know that certain scales don't work well on mobile devices. We know that certain types of formatting of questions don't work well on mobile devices. But if you're a researcher and 50% or 70% of your survey responses are coming from people on mobile devices, we have to make sure it's good. And so I think it's great that they offer a tool. I do wish that they offered it as a self-service tool. Right now on their website you actually have to kind of fill out a form to get it done, but hopefully they'll do that as a self-service tool in the future. And of course Research Now also has some brilliant people who advance our profession by doing research on research and promoting best practices and sharing lessons from their own research. And Melanie Cartwright, who's their EVP of Global Client Services, is a wonderful thought leader in the market research space, and I definitely encourage you to check out some of her articles, or she often speaks at conferences, so you definitely want to seek her out. So we've got these two big panel companies and they're merging, and we also know there are a lot of related trends going on in the industry. So obviously a lot of times a merger is about operational efficiencies. That's not a surprise. It's, how can we come together and pool our resources and be better together? And obviously that's going to apply here. So a couple of other things though is, really thinking about, who we're going to go to when we need different types of resources to get our research done. I've often said, and I've said this for years, that he who owns sample has the power in our industry, because having access to high quality survey respondents is such an important thing. A lot of frankly, there are certain aspects of our work that are becoming commoditized, but having high quality sample is a huge part of making sure that our survey research is going to produce credible data that people can trust and make decisions on. So I feel that having a even bigger panel company is a good thing. I think that this puts them into a position where now not only do they have a huge panel of many millions of people, but it also gives them an opportunity to pool their resources to make sure that they are really at the forefront of making sure that their panel participants, the actual survey respondents that they have in their panel, are authentic and of the highest quality. So I think bigger is better when it comes to panel, if quality processes are also being continuously improved, right? Because there are certain things that we've been doing for years to authenticate people. and it's still not enough. There's always opportunities for improvement. The other thing I like personally is sometimes in my research or the clients I work with, maybe doing research on really difficult topics with hard to find populations. And right now, if you want to do that, a lot of times you'll work with multiple panel companies and then you dedupe. And that is not always ideal, right? I mean, it's a strategy. It's certainly feasible. We do it all the time as researchers, but it would certainly be better to have one big panel and not have to dedupe across multiple panels. Another thing I'm hoping for in terms of just continuing the work of advancing sample quality is just better consistency for both consumer and B2B research. A lot of panel companies have different pockets of excellence. There are panel companies that are awesome with consumers. There are panel companies that their strong suit is more B2B. So getting, say IT managers at Fortune 500 companies or HR managers at manufacturing companies, whatever, B2B. And so I'm hoping that an even bigger panel company will be able to offer our industry more consistent coverage, because right now there's definitely some rules of thumb that those of us know. If you need a hard to find B2B sample, you go over here. If you have a huge consumer sample requirement, you're probably going to choose one of these panel companies. If you're looking for healthcare, you're probably going to choose that panel company. So obviously, if we can have one huge panel company that can address a lot of different areas of specialty, that is awesome. Integration also makes sense. These are both companies that are interested in the integration that does need to happen to continue the efficiency gains that we seek in our profession. So again, if I can have a platform that integrates my access to quality sample, that allows me to write and host great questionnaires, and in that same platform has reporting and dashboarding, that's awesome, right? As a researcher who's always under the gun, you have, I hear this from Research Rockstar students in all sorts of companies. They're always expected to do their research better, faster, and less expensively. And of course, the old, dogma in the industry was you can have your research good, fast, or cheap. Pick any two. But these days, clients really do expect it to be good, fast, and inexpensive. I hate the word cheap. And better integration is part of moving us towards that. There really is no need these days from a technology point of view why we can't have our sample and our surveys and our reporting integrated into a single platform. That's going to help us with the speed issue, the cost issue, and hopefully the excellence issue as well. So for me, it's not just about two panel companies coming together and making a big giant panel company. It's about two companies that really have shown over their history that they are very passionate about advancing the work and quality of market research and customer insights. Between the two companies, they have a lot of very fantastic thought leaders. And I'm hoping that in their merger that they will continue to advance market research and customer insights. Perhaps by pooling their resources, they can even do more research on research, or maybe they'll start their own internal research institute to do more research on research and to share that with our profession. But that's what I'm hoping for. So yeah, a bigger panel company is awesome. A bigger panel company that is providing integrated platforms is awesome. But I'm also hoping that they will use these wonderful people and resources they have to continue advancing the quality of research by funding research on research and sharing that through articles and public speaking, and who knows, maybe a future thought leadership center of their own. So that's my 2 cents on the merger of SSI and Research Now. And for those of you who haven't been over to the Research Rockstar website recently, I just want to encourage you to come check it out. We've just done a big refresh at training.researchrockstar.com. That's the site where we keep all of our training materials, or it's kind of like our training store. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that I have a calendar also on our website. So if you want to see what courses are coming up, you can always hop over to training.researchrockstar.com and see what classes are coming up on the right over here. And that's it. So thank you everybody for your time. If you aren't currently following me on Twitter, please do so. You can follow me at Research Rocks. And please subscribe. The more people who subscribe to the YouTube and podcast version of the YouTube, the longer I will keep these Friday afternoon conversations going. Thanks everybody and have a great day.